From reigniting his feud by branding his rival a mouthpiece for the PGA, to getting called out to quit LIV role, these two don't get along well at all. Here's an inside look into the bitter history between Tiger Woods and Greg Norman. Straight off the bat, this shouldn't come off as too surprising. Fans know that these two aren't a big fan of each other, and it's a miracle if you catch them talking to each other, but their rivalry? Yeah, that started after the LIV Golf Series officially began. I mean, they hadn't even talked to each other for decades now, even though they are pretty much the titans in the game of golf. Take Norman for example. He's the CEO and leader of the super controversial LIV Golf League. And by the way, this wasn't the first time he tried to make some sort of offshoot golf league that could knock the competition, the PGA Tour. Meanwhile, you've also got Woods, who's all for the PGA Tour. In fact, when his loyalty was put to the test with an $800 million deal to join LIV Golf League, he turned it down without any hesitation. It's pretty clear that he's got his heart and mind set on the PGA Tour. In fact, he, along with all the other loyalists, not only want Norman kicked out from his position, but they also want to see the entire league disappear once and for all. Take Rory McIlroy for example.
I feel like we haven't had a lot of days like this year where you can actually, get after the golf course, and finally, we had a day where you could get after it. And
he's one of the people who think Norman's standing in the way of golf, and as long as he's around, we're not going to see any real progress in the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. The LIV Golf Series is what turned them against each other, right? Apparently not, because their tense relationship dates way further than this. And I'm talking about the time Woods turned pro back in 1996. In fact, in 2011, Norman said he would have never picked him for the President's Cup. Why? Because he didn't think Woods was up to that level. Not only that, but he went on to say that he wouldn't even win another major. But was that true? Of course not. And when the time came to prove Norman wrong, it was really awkward. Even though he reached out to congratulate Woods, he was clearly ignored. I mean, he wrote him a handwritten note and delivered it to his guard himself. Or at least that's what he claimed to do.
To win, right? If you want to get to the top of the heap, you have to be that way. You have to practice hard. You have to commit your body and your mind and your time to do that. So I did that.
But he never heard anything back. But wasn't that super obvious at this point? They had a pretty strenuous relationship at the very least, and his comments back in 2011 weren't exactly something to clear the air. At that point, he publicly said, "I think Tiger just dislikes me. I have no idea. I've never had a conversation with him about it." And now, the LIV PGA debate only seems to worsen the situation. In fact, to kickstart 2023, Norman stepped forward to worsen their rivalry. He called Woods a mouthpiece for the PGA. According to him, the 15-time major winner doesn't know his facts as he blindly supports the PGA Tour. It seems like he's just trying to ignore the actual reality of LIV Golf. I mean, it sparked quite the controversy lately. Now, something you should know is that LIV Golf has mostly relied on 9-figure sums from Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF for short. And that's what's got Norman luring some of the game's brightest stars away from the PGA Tour, creating quite the competition. Sure, there are some loyalists, like Woods, who'd never jump to the other side, but we've got plenty of them moving for the money. And if I'm being honest, this isn't the healthiest competition we've seen so far either. And that's why Woods claims one thing will fix everything. Norman needs to walk away from the LIV Golf Series. But let's be honest, do you see that happening anytime soon? Of course not. Probably why Norman thinks the 15-time major winner doesn't know the facts. In fact, back in September 2022, he made it pretty clear that he's not interested to offer any sort of olive branch to the PGA Tour. And ever since then, the Saudi-backed tour is accused of being a sports washing vehicle for the country's human rights record. Think about the players who switched to the series. They've been pretty criticized too because they practically traded a bunch of prestigious tournaments like the Ryder Cup for millions of dollars. But be honest, was that really the wrong move? I feel that's pretty subjective, which is why the debate exists in the first place, because not only are PGA loyalists and Norman fighting over this.
I was thinking about just getting home and getting something to eat and go to bed. Quite honestly, it was late and the press conference went long, and I still had to do some practice, and
But fans are pretty divided on this too. Having said that, there's just one burning question. Will the defectors be able to play in the tournament? Nope. The PGA Tour banned them from doing so. Sure, a few of them can still feature in the majors if they want, but they'd need to meet the qualifying criteria. So, was the money really worth it? And is it Norman running the series, or the money coming in from the Saudi government? Well, PIF is definitely the tour's only financial investor, and he's never denied that. But he's also said that it's up to him and his team to run and keep this thing going. I mean, he's the one dealing with the most criticism anyway. Did you know the two-time major winner even accused the PGA of hypocrisy? He claims that a bunch of its sponsors were also major investors in Saudi Arabia anyway. About 23 of them invest up to $40 billion into the country. So why would they come back at him for doing the same, even if it's about relying on a single source investor? Maybe it's just an attempt to ruin the series' credibility. And since money seems to be the root of this debate anyway, here's something you should know. PGA Tour practically revamped its entire financial structure back in August 2022. Whether they accept it or not, it was clearly an attempt to match the LIV Golf Series standards. Now, the players on tour were going to get a minimum salary of $500,000. As for the prize money, they also bumped that up to match with LIV. So, the new purse in the region was set to about $20 million. But will it stop the rest of the players from making the switch? Only time will tell. So far, they've got two prominent critics, and that's obviously Tiger and Rory, but even they agree that the PGA Tour is losing the battle as they try to match the Saudi-backed tour's financial standards.
I'm proud of basically my whole team. We worked so hard. People have no idea how hard we worked each and every day.
And if you think about it, we don't know how far it's gonna go. How long can the PGA Tour keep up with this? I mean, Tiger has raised a pretty good point. Right now, the Breakaway Tour is trying to be validated with world ranking points. So what are they doing? They're buying all the players they can, but what's the next step? Meanwhile, how long until the PGA Tour has to bow down to the power of millions? Now don't get me wrong, I'm not underestimating the legacy of the tour.
Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
But financial concerns are a major issue here that they're trying to resolve. I mean, the Breakaway Tour spent about $2 billion in 2022. How do you think it'll turn out the next year or the year after that?
Scheffler's made $13 million this season and it's only June. I mean, there's opportunities to make a lot of money out here, but
I mean, I'd go as far as guessing figures in billions. And as Tiger said, it's an endless pit of money. Only time will tell how the competition between the two tours turns out in the near future. As of now, that was an inside look into the bitter history between Tiger and Greg.